This is the Civil War Notebook, Lesson 2. The war begins. When Abraham Lincoln was elected, South Carolina saw his presidency as a threat to their way of life and slavery. The South made a lot of money from agriculture and the cheap labor from slavery. South Carolina formally seceded from the Union on December 20th of 1860. 6 more states seceded in January of 1861. The states that seceded created their own government called the Confederate States of America on February 18th of 1861. The Confederate States made Jefferson Davis the president until elections could be organized in the future. The Union was not happy about this rebellion, and fighting would soon follow in Charleston, South Carolina. Important people. Jefferson Davis, the first and only president of the Confederate States of America. He was appointed until an election could be organized. Vocabulary. Slavery. The practice of taking ownership of people of African American origin to use them for cheap or free labor on a plantation or farm. The Confederate States of America. A new government formed by the states that seceded from the Union in Montgomery, Alabama on February 18th, 1861. And here you can see a Confederate flag, a picture of a Confederate soldier hat, and then this is an illustration of Jefferson Davis. Battle at Fort Sumter. When Abraham Lincoln became president in March of 1861, the Confederate Army attacked Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina. Major Robert Anderson struggled with the Union military to maintain control of Fort Sumter. He surrendered to Pierre G.T. Beauregard and the Confederate Army after 2 days of fighting. South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, excuse me, goodness. Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Virginia, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee seceded from the Union and joined the Confederacy. Some thought that the Union had an advantage due to its size, but the Confederacy proved to be harder to defeat. On July 21st, 1861, Jonathan Stonewall Jackson, the Confederate Army, faced the Union Army at Manassas Junction, Virginia, in the First Battle of Bull Run. The Confederate Army found a way to force the Union Army to run away to Washington, D.C. The two sides of the war quickly realized that this would not be a quick and easy conflict. Important people. Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Jonathan, but okay. Commander of the Confederate Army at the First Battle of Bull Run. Major Robert Anderson. Union commander at Fort Sumter during the Fort Sumter conflict. Pierre G.T. Beauregard, commander of the Confederate forces at Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter. First shots of the Civil War in Charleston, South Carolina. It was supposed to be a military defense base, but it was not finished by the beginning of the Civil War in March of 1861. Confederacy, the states that broke away from the Union because of issues such as state rights and slavery to begin a new government. They went to war against the Union. The Union, the North of the United States that fought against Confederacy, and the Southern states that seceded in the Civil War. The First Battle of Bull Run, a battle in Manassas Junction, Virginia, on July 21st, 1861. The Confederate Army and the Union Army faced each other, and the Union retreated to Washington, D.C. You need to pick 2 different individuals from this page or this page. Hold on. This page or this page. and do some research to determine some information about these individuals. We have Abraham Lincoln, William Sherman, Ulysses S. Grant, Jefferson Davis, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman. You'll need to decide, are they Confederate or from the Union, their birth date, their role in the war, and then the day that they passed away. When you are done with that, you will be done with lesson 2.